Welcome, Coco, to the Wholesome Crypto Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We all know your work, creating amazing music, creating amazing songs. It's poetic, it's relevant, and it hits home for all the crypto users. You definitely offer them as NFTs. So please, if you're watching, get ready to purchase some because you're going to learn about the story of El Coco. And Coco, where were you when you first heard about crypto at all? Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything in the blockchain world?
I don't know where I was when I first heard about Bitcoin. That's kind of one of those things that everybody's heard about. But I never understood it and I never went down that rabbit hole. And then COVID happened and I got interested in the stock market like everybody else did. And I remember AMC stock was like down to basically nothing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I love going to see movies. So I was thinking, well, if AMC makes it through this, then this stock's gonna like skyrocket. So we put $1,000 on AMC, and this was during tax season because I do taxes for a living.
Is this before Wall Street Bets made the whole?
This was during Wall Street Bets.
Okay.
But I had no idea.
Okay.
I had no idea what I was getting into. So it was during tax season, so I didn't have time to really follow it. So I just put like a stop loss on it. And I was in the middle of doing a tax return and I got a notification on my phone and I looked down and it's like, you made $6,000. And I was like, what? And so after that day, I started like digging into like what had happened and learning about GameStop and Wall Street Bets and all that stuff. And so that was just kind of a fluke. And then later that tax season, I was going to get lunch at this cafe and I saw a guy with a GameStop shirt on.
Oh,
so I was like, well, I got to talk to this guy. So I go up and he's with a friend. And so we start talking about GameStop and his friend has a shirt that says Ethereum on it. And I'm like, well, what's Ethereum? I've never heard of it in my life. And thank goodness he was a crazy crypto person. And he just started like going off about how Ethereum is going to change the world in this way and this way. And this was the very beginning of 2021, probably February. So, it sounded interesting. And I went back and started researching Ethereum. And that was basically the end of my social life. I have not
the beginning of a new social life.
Yeah, exactly. The beginning of a digital social life. But I have not come up for breath since then, and fallen hard. And I love crypto. Everything about it is fascinating to me.
So now is your family and friends looking at you as a crazy crypto guy?
Oh yeah. Because I became the crazy crypto guy for a while, for at least a year, where every conversation came back to crypto. And I finally learned like people don't want to hear about this stuff. So
it's hard.
So I don't really talk about it anymore.
It's because like whenever I meet new people and I tell them what I do, like, oh, I do some podcasting and like do some work in crypto, and I kind of wait for their reaction and see if they're interested or not. Then I'll go into it. Otherwise, I'm just like, what do you do? What's your life like? I don't need to explain my life. It's fine.
Yeah. And I do get a lot of opportunities to have that piece of a conversation with people because of doing taxes. In the US, on your tax return, you have to write whether or not you've done anything with crypto. So I get to ask that to every single person that I interact with, which is cool. And then I can see, if they've done anything with it or if they're interested at all or make a comment, then it's like, ooh, I've got an in. I can talk to this person about crypto. I've got my Ethereum like full node behind me in the office. I'm like, yeah, this is my Ethereum node,
This is what my life is about. And then you're working in the tax industry. You're heavily integrated with crypto, especially in the US, because it's all still up for regulation, I guess. I mean, it's kind of clearish of what we have to do as of now, but yeah, it's quickly changing and evolving. And a lot of your music seems to come from like bashing on some regulators like Gary Gensler and like Elizabeth Warren. And then from your inspiration, are you like writing down things as you see it as if it's going to be a good fit for the next hit? Or is it just one day you're going to straight ADHD mode, hyper focus, and nail it all out?
Yeah, I don't write things down, and I should. And I think about that here and there, especially when I'm starting to write a song. I'm like, oh man, if I had ideas already written out. It'd be nice, but I don't. I really just, as far as the content, I'll get like a hankering for writing a song about a certain topic and then just sit down and write it. Typically I'll just get like the bug and I'll be hyper focused for a couple of days on lyrics, and I'll write out usually like 2 to 3 times as many verses as end up in the song. And then I spend a lot of time paring it down, because usually the songs end up way too long. Like nobody really wants to hear a 6-minute, 7-minute song. So
tell that to Queen, right?
Yeah. I'll listen to a 10-minute Queen song for sure.
But that's like the famous quote from, like, I think Abraham Lincoln. He has a speech, but was apologizing that he couldn't make it shorter, because it takes a lot more time to make it shorter and concise to exactly what it needs to be, rather than just blurting out something for 6-7 minutes.
Yeah, it's like I had a music composition teacher once that said, when you see a good movie, she really liked. No, I'm blanking. What's the guy that did The Birds and all those movies? The English guy. Anyway,
I remember.
You know what I'm talking about, but I'm just blanking on his name. But anyway, she would always say the true, like, unsung heroes are the editors of the movies. Because they're the ones that keep you engaged and make sure that scenes don't go too long and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of truth to that, I think.
That's true, because I love long form podcasts because that's what we do, and it gives a different depth and meaning. But yeah, our world is full of as perfectly edited short clips as possible, just to get you right in that engagement and then on to the next.
Yeah, we've kind of gone off the deep end on the wrong end of that, I think, these days.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
So you were talking about your music composition teacher. When did you start learning how to play music, and what instruments?
I learned starting at the age of 5, maybe 4. My grandmother played piano and violin, and my mom and my other grandmother. But this particular grandmother had a lot of grandkids. I don't even know how many at this point. I think like 18, something like that. She taught all of us music. She taught all the boys piano and all the girls piano and violin. I don't know why she maybe thought violin was like more feminine or something. I don't agree with that at all. But anyway, that was her decision. I hated it, just like everybody that's a kid that's forced to play an instrument. But I remember at 5th grade, she allowed me to quit, and I was like, all right, I'm going to quit then. And then she came to me a few days later, and she's like, I think you should stick with it, because I think you've got like some real talent. If I let you play whatever you want to play, continue. And I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And so she let me pick my next piece, which was Can You Feel the Love Tonight from The Lion King. and so I learned that, and I found like the joy of playing piano, just playing something that I love, that I could sing along with, that other people enjoyed hearing me play. And then the next song that she asked me to pick was this piece, Fantasy Impromptu by Chopin, which was the piece that my mother was learning how to play for her master's degree in music, which she never ended up getting, I think because she had my brother. But anyway, it was a very flashy piece, romantic piece, and I learned that in 5th grade, and just kind of like fell in love with the piano even harder, and I never kind of looked back after that.
That's amazing. I feel like I had some piano lessons as a kid, and then I just went into hating it, and I never went back. I should have went back. Now as an adult, I'm like, damn, I wish I knew how to play piano or guitar. Like, I'm practicing guitar now, like I'm learning something, but like at your level, it shows how much fun you can have with it, especially if you know how to compose. And I'll also learn more about like understanding the level of, playing music that already exists versus knowing how to compose new music. Yeah. That was, I guess, a big difference between those two things in my life, at least. I ended up going off to school for piano in the 10th grade. There's in North Carolina, there's a school called the North Carolina School of the Arts, which is a university for fine arts, but they also have 2 dorms that house high school students. And so
you can go there as a high schooler and they have a program where you can get your degree, but then in your arts classes, you're with the college students, and it's super intense. And I remember like some days I would practice 12 hours in a day.
Oh, wow.
And I learned so much about music and about myself, and I also burned myself out. I decided if I was going to pursue music for the rest of my life, then I didn't want to be playing just other people's music, because I looked around at all these classical pianists that dedicate their life to this, and they spend so much time practicing, and not that many people really care.
Yeah.
I thought that was sad in a way, because these people need more recognition than they get, because what they do is phenomenal. But it's like I wanted to write my own music. So I started writing, and I started taking composition classes, and then I ended up going to college for music composition, and I got a degree in that, in finance. I did it the wrong way, and this is a lesson that I can't wait to impart to my son when he gets to be old enough. But like,
you can share with the world now too.
Yeah. So I decided I would just go through the program and learn what they had to teach me, come out the other end with all these tools, and then I could like do whatever I wanted to and write music the way that I wanted to write music. And so I learned about classical music and more like modern type of like cage type stuff, and it was all interesting, but it was always a grind. I never really enjoyed writing music, and what I should have done was found something that I wanted to write while I was in school and taken that to my professors and said, this is what I'm passionate about. Can you help me learn how to do this better? Instead of just trying to be like a blob of clay for them to mold the way that they wanted to. So after I graduated, I kind of, I decided not to go into music. And I think that was a big part of it, part of why. And now, like, this is the first time that I've ever, and I've still played music since then. I love playing music any chance I get. And I've written music, but this is the first time I've ever written music that people actually like resonate with, because there aren't that many crypto music composers. There's like Jonathan Mann and me, and then there are a few other people that do like kind of one-offs here and there. But just being able to write this music and have people respond to it and appreciate it is amazing.
And it's just entertaining as hell too, because I've listened to your songs and I'm just like, yeah, this guy gets it. He gets what's going on in crypto. Like, and you're putting it in such a beautiful way too, because you also get people in the crypto industry who create art, and you use that art to edit it with your music and create a beautiful visual and lyrics that resonate, like you said, with us as a community. And also with like being someone who's in the crypto space, but before learning about crypto, did you have a passion, industry that you wanted to write about, or was it just personal?
No, it was just kind of just personal as far as music goes. Like I jump into whatever I do in life fully. That might be a repercussion of like going to the School of the Arts where I'm focused so intensely. But like ever since then, I've kind of been that kind of person. But I've never really combined it with music. So this is the first time that I've found something that I'm really passionate about that I'm also writing music about.
Yeah. And I think you're starting to also pick up on the frequency of songs you're making. I feel like there was some closer gaps of releases. Are you finding yourself in a better groove now as you're releasing songs and seeing traction?
No. It's so hard to find the time. If I had the time to write music all the time, I would write so much more. I've got 2 kids, got a full-time job at the tax office, which is actually more than full-time, especially during tax season. And I'm like a crypto fanatic, which is like a full-time job in and of itself.
Yep.
Just keeping up to date and like learning about that stuff. So I write when I can, and I tend to put more songs out when it's not tax season. So tax season starts up in January, so I'll be radio silent for 4 months, pretty much. That's kind of how it goes. I do have another song that I'm pretty much done with.
Oh, nice.
That I don't want to call anybody's name out, but yeah, I've got an awesome NFT artist that's I think going to work on it with me.
Did you do the video editing yourself too?
Yeah.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, I'm I'm learning. Yeah, for First Cyclers, I wrote the song, and I was actually, I think it was probably because of Jonathan, like the way he always puts videos with his music. I was like, I should have something to go along with this, so it's not just like just audio. And I just sat down one night and I was like, memes would go great with like all of these lyrics, you know. So I spent that took a lot of time coming up with all those memes, and that was like, you know, everybody loved it. So after that, I was like, well, I guess I got to do, you know, video for all the songs. And then for the bear song, I love Perchy, and I love like I've got a Chippy, and I've got like multiple of the Bankless locations, and I know he's like always seemed to be a really nice guy. I didn't really have a relationship with him, but I was like, he would be perfect for this song, and so I might as well just ask him. I had no um, real hope that he was going to say yes, and I wrote him, and I told him that when I DM'd him, I was like, you're probably going to say no. So like, don't worry about hurting my feelings, but I just want to ask you, like, would you like to collab on this song with me? And he was like, I would love to. I love your music, and let's do it.
Hell yeah.
That was an amazing moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you just don't know until you ask. I think I'd say popular advice to give is just ask people, like, would you help me? And it can go a long way, because, you know, when I was starting my podcast too, I'm like, no one's going to want to go on my podcast with, you know, when I'm starting out with, you know, no viewers, nothing, not even a single episode out. But it builds, and you get that one person that can help you build credibility, and it just keeps growing after that. And now it's just like, okay, now anybody wants to come on my not anybody, but like, I want to have like as many people on my podcast to like give them a voice and them a platform. Especially,
go ahead.
No, it's like especially people in like crypto, where it's usually all about investment advice and about the heavy hitters who have thousands and thousands and thousands of followers and just kind of shill different bags and don't remember to talk about the humans of crypto. And it's nice to have a ability to finally get people who are that I love, that I follow, such as yourself, who are the essence of what I think is our ethos, and give them a voice and give you a chance to say your story, because you deserve the thousands and thousands of followers, not the people that I think who are just shilling bags and trying to make a buck off people.
Appreciate it. Yeah, and you've had some heavy hitters on your show for sure. Like I remember I learned about Paul Brody because of you.
Oh, and thank you.
My wife actually worked. Yeah, my wife works for one of the big four, and I listened to that episode of yours, and I was like, babe, like EY's doing all this stuff, like this guy Paul Brody, and then like a month or two later, I saw him on Bankless, and I was like, man, Wholesome had him on there first.
I know. That's all right. I like to think
I love Bankless, but yeah.
I like to think my podcast helps people on the up and up. So like once you get on the Wholesome Crypto, that's when you just shoot up. So I hope I hope this happens to you. I hope you're on my show, and then next month I see you on Bankless. I'm like, that's Coco.
Oh,
he deserves it.
I'm not ready for Bankless.
They're not ready for you.
No, man, speaking of Bankless, like that, they really gave me my leg up. Like I'm so grateful to those guys. When I did First Cyclers, some of my friends heard it, and they were just like, man, this is amazing. Like people need to hear this. Like David needs to hear this from Bankless, you know? So one of my friends like DM'd him and showed him. And I remember David was like, this is maybe the greatest piece of crypto content I've ever seen. Like this is going to be on the roll up on Friday. And like that moment was like what I can imagine, you know, the first time a musician gets their song played on a radio, and like oh man, I made it, you know, I think the songs that I do from here on out could like get a lot bigger, but like that one moment, like David gave me that moment of adrenaline of like, man, like people actually dig this stuff, and people are going to hear this. And that was just a cool moment.
I love that. And that's such an incredible like journey too, because I'm sure you're posting these out with not much expectation on it, then you just want to do it for yourself and hope it gets somewhere. Then it does get somewhere, and you're like, just full of excitement. That's such a good feeling.
And I'm still like surprised. Like I'm starting to become less surprised as I gain confidence. But I guess I could talk about the first song that I ever did.
Please.
Which was a song that I wrote for a competition that Colony was having. Colony, the DAO tooling platform.
Okay.
Yeah, when they released their token, they basically did an ICO instead of an airdrop. They were trying to drum up excitement for the project, and so they had all these competitions. And I kind of sibbled some of the competitions. I won multiple of them with different. I didn't know if I was supposed to like enter multiple competitions as the same person, but one of them was write a song about crypto. So I wrote a song about DAOs, you know. So I wrote a song about DAOs, and it took me about 2 days because I just like that bug that I was telling you about. I just like really started enjoying the process, and I won the competition, which was not surprising, just due to the fact that I figured nobody else would put the amount of effort in it that I put into it. But everybody seemed to like it. Then there's this guy Will, who was one of the core members of Colony, came up with this idea of having a record label DAO, and he called it DAO Beat. And the idea was to bring together musicians that wanted to collaborate remotely. Maybe one person has an idea and they write a guitar line and maybe like a vocal track, and then another musician can jump on and do like the drum track or whatever. You know, that was kind of the idea. And he encouraged me to come on and like write a song for it. And that's when I wrote for Cyclers. And it seemed to go over really well. But even then, like I just thought people were humoring me. Like, you know, like this song's really great or whatever, you know, and until they played it on Bankless. And then I was like, oh, wow, you know, people do like it. But even then, like the next song I wrote, I think every time I write a song, I'm like, this song's going to suck. But that probably forces me to put more work into it than I otherwise would. But so far, yeah.
Yeah, you're your own harshest critic, right? Like as most artists.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy being a creative because you have a vision and you want to be the vision, and I feel like it's hard to perfectly achieve it, but you have to publish something. You have to show out something.
Yeah, it's so hard. Every time I listen to one of my songs, like all I hear are the parts that I think are not perfect because I don't have a recording studio. You know, I've got my microphone in my den, and I'm not an audio engineer, and so like I do the best I can with adjusting levels. But you know,
I think that's the awesome part of your work, though. It's how genuine and like real, and it's playing on like the open sourceness of crypto. Like you're just a person doing this thing that you love, and it's genuine, and the community will collaborate on it and bring it to life. Not so much that you have a multi-million-dollar studio with a perfect soundproof area that has a nice microphone. It's all like bells and whistles to just make some song. Like Jonathan Mann does his in his like room also, and the green screen.
He's awesome.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The work is awesome. Your work is awesome. That's what we recognize. It's not so much the quality. Like my episodes of my podcast, I'm like listening to my own voice. I'm like, Rudy, you sound terrible. What are you saying? Stop talking like that. So it's easy to critique oneself, but most of the time, most people don't notice these things, and they just really appreciate the actual content, lyrics, and love that goes into it. That shows.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I'm getting better every song too. I'm learning new techniques and I'm buying other equipment. You know, they say whenever you put money into crypto, you never pull it back out. It's like a one-way door.
Yeah.
And that's been the case for me, other than an airdrop I got from Maverick, the DEX.
Mm-hmm.
I used that money to buy a keyboard. So I no longer have to like mic my piano, which is worse sound quality.
Okay.
So I did take money from that. And I felt so bad about it. I try to keep 50% of like every airdrop that I get, at least as a thank you to the team for like giving me free money. So I'm not dumping my bags on everybody. but that one I sold, and I like apologized on Twitter and I tagged them, and nobody responded. They probably hate my guts. The asshole like sold his bags. So I was like, I'm doing it for crypto.
I'm doing it,
right
for the greater good.
Yeah.
So being in the crypto space for a while now, I guess, what is your crypto pet peeve?
The one that comes to mind is probably the one that everybody feels. It's just like people that want to show their bags and do so in a closed-minded way. When you're new to crypto, like there's so much noise. It's so hard to figure out where the signal is and like who's serious and who is a charlatan. And it's just like, it's so rampant. It drives me crazy. And it took a long time to figure out like where the signal was and how to find it. And one way that I actually like started making headway was, you would see all of these debates online, and I would always think to myself, like, who seems like the smarter person in this debate? And it seemed to always be the Ethereum people that had like well thought out arguments and were willing to engage in different points, and that served me well. And so I guess I'm probably like a full on Ethereum at this point. But funny. I still try to stay open minded, like truly, because I think that's very important for newcomers as well as us.
Yeah, and it's funny how you mentioned that, because a couple years ago, I think me and my wife were traveling to Guatemala, and I noticed some guy involved in crypto, and I was like, I'm going to talk to that guy, and I started speaking with him, and he's a Bitcoiner, big time. Mm-hmm. And I'm not against Bitcoin. I think it has its place, and I'm excited for people like Rudy and Eric Wall and the Ordinals team and Taproot Wizards like doing their thing. I'm all for that. But this person that I was speaking with was a maxi. And when we were going back and forth about just using the word crypto was bad. Like, it's like Bitcoin and shit coins. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And it was like a religious belief for him. And I was like introducing my wife into crypto at that time, to Bitcoin and Ethereum. She's like learning about it. So she was asking questions too. And you can tell he was like getting heated for like not understanding the beautiful value of Bitcoin. And I'm like, all right. She is like confused on why he was so upset about things. And I'm like, well, you just met a Bitcoin maxi. This is what they're like. And then we went to wild. Yeah. And then we went to ETH Denver together like 2 years ago. And then all the Ethereum community is like colorful, happy, like welcoming, ready to engage in conversation, happy to talk about Bitcoin, happy to talk about Ethereum, happy to talk about whatever currency. And I'm like, this is what the Ethereum community looks like. And she's like, wow, I like Ethereum much better. And I'm like, yeah, because they're willing to help and engage and learn. And the Bitcoin maxis were just kind of either you get it, you're on their side, or you're not. But I'm feeling a little bit like if the Ethereum community is becoming either like divided or slightly more aggressive nowadays. Yeah. And I don't understand why.
It's Solana. That's what it is, in my opinion.
Are they incepting the Ethereum community to talk shit about or to change our behavior?
Is Solana changing our behavior?
Yeah.
I think maybe for some people, but I think Ethereum is still going about it the right way. I think Solana people view Ethereum people as being the new Bitcoin maxis, that are very closed-minded, when like clearly like Solana, there's all these benefits in Solana. And I think probably there are a lot of people in Ethereum that don't look into Solana and don't understand what the benefits are. But there are a lot of people in Ethereum that do. And I think where the Solana like maxis go wrong is they pit Solana against Ethereum. And they say like, in the Ethereum ecosystem, everything's fragmented. Whereas in Solana, like it's all like, more or less atomic composability. But I think that's the wrong comparison. I think you compare the chain that people are going to use, which is an L2 versus Solana. Like in theory, a Validium can scale infinitely. So, I mean, you can have as much scale in a Validium as you do in Solana. And the fact that it settles to Ethereum, I would say is like a positive and not a negative, because you get settlement assurances and you get like more interoperability with the other L2s than you do if you're Solana. I think some of the ideas that Solana has are cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Solana is probably going to pump its ass off. And I've got a little bit of Solana of Sol, but I didn't buy a lot. And I thought long and hard about this because I was like, Solana's probably going to pump like hell. And I'm probably going to deal with a little bit of cope. and I think I'm okay with that because I think L2s have a better outlook than Solana. And that's where I'm going to place my bets. And some of my friends are already like, celebrating because their Sol bags are mooning. And I'm like, I'm happy for them, and I support it. And yeah, I'm supportive of Solana for sure. I don't think it's going to end up being the settlement layer of the world, but I think it could have its own place for sure.
Yeah, it's funny when Bankless talks about Solana, they get a lot of hate because they're supposed to be Ethereans. And I'm like, well,
yeah,
they're just a crypto podcast who's supposed to talk about crypto as a whole and in general. Yeah, they might love Ethereum or Ethereum is their number one choice, but it's weird. It's weird to me to think that they're not allowed to talk about other things just because they're supposed to be a Ethereum or something.
It would be a bad decision for them to, refuse to talk about Solana in any kind of like positive light, because that would be a telltale sign that they've got blinders on.
Exactly. Okay, so we'll go back to more about you and your growth in crypto and writing music, creating NFTs. If this could, I guess, what's it going to take for you to say, I want to do this full time? This is my life.
Unfortunately, it's probably not going to. Okay, there is a way.
There's always a way.
Bartending was my career after college, and I was super passionate about that. I did that for 15 years, managed bars, open bars. That was the rabbit hole that I jumped down to for a large portion of my life. But I always knew that I was going to end up at the tax office because it's a family business. And I pushed it off for a long time because it's like they needed me, they needed help. But I was like, this bar career is too exciting, and I want to see where it takes me, for now. But finally, wife and I decided to have kids, and one of us had to quit their job. She had, like, in the service industry, she has what's known as like a real job. So I quit my job, and I was like, all right, it's time to go to the tax office. And so I started doing that. I've done it for 5 tax seasons now, so this will be my 6th coming up. I love it too, and I loved accounting classes in school, which makes me kind of weird, I guess. But I'm going to be taking over the tax office eventually. It's like my wife's grandmother started it over 50 years ago. So it's like the legacy. Oh, wow. So I'll be doing that for sure alongside crypto. And I can dovetail that with crypto as well. I'm in a DAO called Eli 5 DAO, which tests DAO tooling and reviews it and kind of teaches people, about it. And so I'm going to be doing their taxes this coming up year. Nice. As a nonprofit DAO. So I'm learning a lot doing that. And I do, different people's taxes that are in crypto. Those are my favorite tax returns to do.
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah, I love it. So I don't think I could ever do anything else full time because of that, unless AI takes my job away from me. And then,
which you got time,
which I can see happening eventually.
Let's see. I think AI is focused on different problems because accounting is so damn gray that I've realized, especially if you're a business owner and if you're in crypto and if you have any assets, or you're just like, if you have anything more than a standard W-2, it's just like, what are these rules? Like, how do I place them properly? Because you can go about so many different paths on your taxes and it's so freaking gray.
Yeah, but you see, like, the way that you frame that shows that it's already happening, not necessarily with AI, but with technology. Because 20 years ago, if you had a W-2, you needed to get your taxes done. But now you have TurboTax. So like technologies
is already... They're not good.
No, they're not good. But if you have a simple return, then they're fine. And so they're already taking away a lot of the simple returns. So like each year, the returns that we do get a little bit more complicated. I think AI is going to accelerate that process where we eventually get to a point where like people come to tax preparers for the gray stuff, which is like way more challenging than the straightforward stuff, which is fun. But it's like you need the easy ones too. They're like candy in between the courses.
Yeah, they're the butter on their bread, right? Just
exactly. We need all of it. We need the intellectually stimulating returns, and we need the easy candy.
I mean, that's good that you have. It's nice that you can combine your two passions together, because for taxes you're going to need like a crypto accountant for a foreseeable future. I think like maybe AI will take over, but I think you'll be able to find a way to make it work in your best interest anyways, because working with AI can help you rather than just fighting it.
Yeah, man, crypto taxes are talking about gray areas. Like there's so little guidance.
Yeah.
It's like if you get an airdrop, like how do you value it? You know,
I don't know.
There are no sales already on the market. There's no predetermined price like there is with an IPO. So it's like, was it worth zero when you got it? Maybe. Was it worth the amount that it was when you claimed it? Probably not, but maybe. Should you take the average of the cost for the day, or like, if you get an airdrop and there's no liquidity, but like the first trade is like $1 a token, but there's like zero liquidity. So all of a sudden your airdrop's worth $10 million, but there's no way you can sell it for that.
And do you claim it as like income? Is it your income, or is it like a capital?
Yeah.
I don't even know. Like I have to, always work with an accountant to like figure out like, well, I got an airdrop today and I guess it's zero because I'm not selling it and I don't want to ever sell it. I just got it, but I don't want to do anything with it. So what do I do?
Yeah, it's probably income, but like maybe not, because you paid gas money to claim it. So maybe the gas money is your basis. Like, who knows?
It's so silly. And it's just like, it just shows how easily broken the tax system is. And
it's so stupid.
I think it's like almost intentional. Like, let's make a weird system that's complicated, so it creates a whole industry around it.
Yeah, like I'll give you an example. Last year, I was taking a class to brush up on like state tax laws. They were like, there are three major changes in the tax code for the state, and one of them had to do with if you owned a farm that was also a zoo. Had to be both. So then there was that one. And then the third one was this only pertains to companies that sell conveyor belts to all 50 states and do at least $10 million in revenue per year. Like, obviously this is just for one company, Yeah. And so when you have like special interests, getting laws passed for their benefit, or like individual companies, and all of a sudden the tax code becomes 5 million pages long. It's stupid.
It's it's like all these companies get special write-offs, and you wouldn't know. No one teaches this. Like, you don't learn about this that in school for the general public. Mm-hmm. A specialized profession that also has to have an in with the industries and also has to know the right people. And then you figure it out, because there's so much I learned through experience and not much through school, sadly.
Yeah, it's true.
For now, since you're so heavily involved in crypto, heavily involved in accounting, you have a family and music, what do you do for mental health? How do you keep yourself in check, in balance, and going in a positive fashion?
I don't think I have an answer to that. Eventually I'm going to crash. There were a couple of months this year where I kind of had to unplug, but that's the first time that's ever happened. But it only lasted for a couple of months, and then I was like back on the horse. But I don't have enough time to even like get enough sleep. Even like I'm probably doing damage to my body right now. But the only time I really have to spend on crypto is after everybody's asleep. So whether that's
Gotcha.
like writing a song or like airdrop hunting or like learning about like, you know, the beacon chain or whatever, like my free time is late at night. So
kids get you up early in the morning.
Yeah. My kid's in kindergarten and he has to be at school by 7:30 a.m. That's when the tardy bell rings.
That's ridiculous. That's too early for kids.
Yeah. It's not healthy for him. Mm-hmm.
How do they? That's another problem. Like AI is going to solve teaching. Like they're just going to teach our kids for us.
Yeah,
at their pace.
Yeah. I think crypto could help solve the university problem as well.
Crypto can solve everything.
Crypto can solve everything. Yeah.
Are we the problem? Maybe we're just crazy. I don't know. But
I actually wrote like a light paper for that, for like a new type of college enabled by, DAO tooling. I did that for a competition. And,
that's pretty interesting. Is that public? Probably somewhere.
Yeah, if you go to my Twitter page, then there's a link that says some ideas, and there are a couple of. There's a DAO that I started the white papers in there that never ended up like taking off. It did for a little bit. It was a DAO that with the purpose of pulling together resources from people that were interested in buying land somewhere in the world and creating an intentional community that some people would live on and other people could visit, and then creating a network of these.
Yeah.
That was my first attempt at starting a DAO. And it actually did get some traction for a little while, and we had a core group of people that worked on it for about a year. And then we ended up having to just kind of step away because none of us had enough time in our life to community build. And like, that takes a lot of time. I didn't expect that, you know?
Yeah, it's not easy building community. As someone who is trying to build their community, it's just a lot of effort, a lot of time. And I mean, that's what's so great about the network state with Balaji. Like he's, I think, pushing that agenda. And now I went to the conference in Amsterdam recently, and there's so many new companies and DAOs, or like people who are just trying to build communities all over the world, or having some type of crypto community in like a remote island and building their own network state. So it's really awesome to see. And I'm really hopeful for that future.
Yeah, me too.
Because we need that.
That's really fascinating to me as well. But community building, it takes so much time whether or not you have a community. Like if you don't have one, then it takes a lot of time to build it. But if you do have people interested in your ideas, then you have to like make sure that you stay engaged, that they stay engaged, and everybody is able to like come together and focus on that North Star. Otherwise it descends into chaos, which is what happened in the very beginning of Intentional DAO. We had a lot of people join the Discord. Everybody had ideas. Nobody could even decide what chain to build on, you know? And so it's like, all right, we need to step back and solidify some of these ideas so that when we bring this to the public again, we can say, all right, here's how we're thinking it'll work. Let's debate each point. As opposed to just having everybody just spray this like fire hose of ideas in your face. By that point, the bear market had set in, and it was hard to get people back in the Discord. And so,
yeah, that's a tough part too about like new projects, is sometimes you need like a high level decision maker who's going to say, this is how it's going to work for now, and we'll break it down and break out these points later on. Because if everyone's trying to work together and make a decision, it's just way too noisy. Nothing gets done.
Yeah, exactly.
For my last question, I want to know, what is your most favorite wholesome crypto moment? Something in your life that's happened in the crypto world that's happy and exciting and wholesome.
The thing that comes to mind goes back to that DAO that I was just talking about, Intentional DAO. Yeah, there was this guy. There's not one particular thing, just kind of like an overall vibe that I was able to live in for a while. This other core member goes by Frio. A shout out to Frio. He's like my community building spirit guide. First of all, we had this like motto of no obligations, and I think that's one superpower of DAOs. I guess it could be a double-edged sword. If nobody feels like they're obligated to do anything, then maybe nothing happens. But I love this idea that, with a DAO, you can contribute when you want and how you want. And if it's valuable, then you'll get rewarded for it. And if it's not, then, thanks anyway. You can still engage and meet people or whatever. So I always appreciated that. But then just this idea of how to start a DAO, like you can come at it from two different angles. One is like you have an idea and you bring people on. You try to surround yourself with people that share the same idea and the same passion and that can make this thing happen. Another way is to have a group of friends that already vibe together and just spend a lot of time together. And that you want to do something together, but you're not necessarily sure what it is. And so there are these different tricks you can do, different ways you can structure meetings in order to, further align each other with one another, and also tease out ideas that end up solidifying themselves into like the idea that the DAO wants to become. It's like the true, in my opinion, the true ground up, like grassroots way to start a DAO, which is, I think, what is a good thing to strive for. So just going through that experience was fantastic, and it's something that I'd like to recreate in a couple of other DAOs that I'm part of. There's a Charlotte DAO that I started with this other guy. When the merge was happening, I had no in real life crypto friends at all. And I was like, this is something we need to celebrate. I'm sure there are people in the area. I live in the Charlotte area. There's got to be people.
There's got to be somebody
excited, about this is me. And so I reached out in like the Daily Gwei Discord and like all the different Discords that I'm active in. And we got a group together, and now we have like Charlotte DAO. Everybody's like, we should DAO, we should like coordinate and like do things and be active in politics and stuff like that. Nobody has the time so far. But we still have our Discord, and we still get together every couple of months and drink and talk about crypto, and it's great. But it's kind of like a slow motion version of that, where we're meeting each other and becoming friends. And eventually we want to decide, how to take the next step. Like we have a treasury now. We've got a DAO on Colony. We've got a lot of infrastructure in place. It's just about the time. I love DAOs.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a major small to medium DAO revolution eventually. And I'm here for it.
I'm so surprised, and like you have no time, but yet you do so much. And it's like, I'm like, I feel like you have more hours in the day than I do. I'm like, do you drink a lot of coffee, which just compresses your time? Like
no coffee.
No coffee.
No. I drink green tea. I can't handle caffeine that well.
Green tea is pretty strong. Can be.
Yeah. There's more stuff that we could talk about. There's one thing that I know we need to wrap it up, but just to like put this idea out there. So I'm looking for people to help maybe latch onto this idea. You have time for one quick little story?
No, yeah, plug it in.
Okay. So there was this guy that I was posting something about something. I think it was about DAOs on Twitter. And this guy responded to me with a DM saying, hey, I've got an idea. I was wondering if you could like maybe help me with. And his idea was, is there a way to invest in people the way that we invest in companies? And will crypto allow for this? And the reason he was asking was because, I don't want to dox him too much, but he is a fascinating, like, engineer, like, I guess I can go ahead and say like ex-military intelligence kind of guy that has been all over the world in all these different conflicts. When the Ukraine war broke out, he like took the first flight over there. Oh, wow. And went right into the hot zone just to try to help out any way he could. And met a lot of farmers over there and a lot of government contacts and business people. And he's like, these farmers need help and they don't have access to any kind of like funding. And the country needs food from these guys. Like, it's very important we get money into the hands of these people. Like, he approached the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and all these other foundations. It's like, everything takes too long. I've noticed that things happen fast in crypto, and I love the decentralized nature of it because he's got his whole like, anyway, I'll leave that. But it ended up as a collaboration, and we wrote this like pretty in-depth white paper that I spent quite a lot of time on, detailing a way to offer uncollateralized loans to farmers in Ukraine that could easily be ported to other crisis areas in the world, in other areas where people don't have access to banking. And, you know, I tried to get Aave on board because it has a little bit to do with like social networking. They've got Lens over there, and they're like, you know, but crickets from them. Rossify is an uncollateralized lending platform, and they actually were interested. And I talked to their founder, and he was like, I think we're going to run with this. That's a really interesting idea. So that was like fantastic, but then I never heard anything back from them. So it's still like on the shelf. It's still something that I would love to see like happen for the sake of the world. And I don't need to be involved in it at all. Yeah. If anybody out there thinks that this is interesting and wants to like meet my now friend and read the white paper, then like, please get in touch.
Please tell everyone, where can they get in touch with you? What's the best way?
Twitter, probably. So I'm Coco the Corn Cob on Twitter.
Get that handle, find it.
Yeah.
We got another story about how that happened, but maybe for a separate interview. I don't know. It's
just kind of a fast story, I can tell you.
Do it. Share it. The crowd's dying to know.
Yeah. Coco is a name that was given to me when I worked at a Mexican taqueria for 7 years. There was this guy from Oaxaca that every single day, every single time he saw me, it was just like 1,000 times a day, he was like, "Tú eres el cocodrilo." So people started calling me el cocodrilo, or Coco for short, and it just kind of stuck down there. So in New Orleans, which is where I was when I was bartending, people down there still call me Coco. And my Twitter handle was Ongoing Study for a long time. And I, for my PFP early on in crypto, like I found this, it looked like a crypto pump, but it was a corn cob because I only eat plants, and I'm like interested in permaculture and that kind of stuff. So I was like, this kind of fits my personality. And so this guy, Ebenezer Scrooge, I don't know if you know him on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
He told me, he was like, "Man, why do you have Ongoing Study? Like, you should be Coco the Corn Cob, dude." I was
Totally.
like, yeah, you're right. I should. So I changed it.
I love it. I love that it stuck too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Coco, for being on another episode with me. Thank you for sharing your story. You do a lot, and I want everyone to like recognize and appreciate your work and follow you, and also be ready for the next single that's coming out, hopefully soon later.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. I've got the music written for the song. It's just a matter of like getting it recorded and getting the art done for it. But got to do it by January. Otherwise, it's going to be April.
We're ready for it. We're ready for it. And take your time, of course. Remember, take care of yourself. And thank you for everything you do.
Yeah. Thank you so much.